What's happening everyone, my name is Alex and welcome back to a new review. For today we have another phone from China that's using the Helio P25 CPU. This one is called the Elephone P8 and it costs somewhere around $220. Aside from that Helio P25 CPU, we also have 6 gigs of RAM, 64 gigs of internal storage, and the device has a 5.5-inch screen with a 1080p resolution. This phone is trying to be different by having a 16 megapixel camera on the front and a 21 megapixel camera on the back, and that's not something that we see for most Chinese phones. Now, are those cameras any good? Well, we're definitely gonna find out. The camera app leaves a lot to be desired. This is the stock MediaTek camera app that's slow, doesn't have options, and overall it's not a great experience taking pictures with it, so not the best camera app that I've seen. The 16 megapixel front-facing camera doesn't take the pictures that I was hoping it to take, so if you take pictures in daylight the pictures look kind of okay, but realistically nothing special, and if you take pictures in low light conditions, well, the pictures are kind of grainy, so the front-facing camera it's not the greatest. And moving to the 21 megapixel rear camera, well, that one does much better than the front-facing camera, however not as I was expecting. If you have plenty of light, the camera is very quick to focus and most pictures that you're gonna take look quite good. The color reproduction is great, the pictures have a lot of detail and you can even take some pictures with the cool bokeh effect, so overall the daytime pictures look quite good. Now, as soon as there isn't as much light, the camera struggles to focus, so you're gonna have to take a picture like 3 times to actually take a good looking picture, but all the pictures turn out quite grainy and a bit out of focus. So even though this rear camera sounded quite good on paper, in reality it's much different. Alright, I'm recording in 4K with the Elephone P8. I'm using a 3-axis gimbal because this phone doesn't exactly have any optical image stabilization. Supposedly there is some type of electronic image stabilization, but in reality it doesn't work that well. So this is how a 4K sample from this phone looks like. Since the phone is made out of metal, it doesn't feel like a cheap phone whenever you're holding it. However, we still have huge bezels all around the screen, we have a big chin, a big forehead, and that makes the phone just a bit too big for my taste. So using this phone in one hand, it's kind of close to impossible. On the right hand side we have the volume buttons and we also have a mute button, and this is something that we've seen on a OnePlus 5 device, for example. Me personally, I'm not a big fan of it, but I guess a lot of people like these buttons. On top we have the 3.5mm audio jack, and on the other side you're gonna find the power button and the SIM card tray. The phone can take either 2 SIM cards or a SIM card and an SD card, and that SD card can also be installed as internal storage. However, out of that 64 gigs of internal storage, we still have about 55 gigs left, so plenty of space for apps. And moving to the bottom of the phone, there we're gonna find something somewhat strange. They actually use the micro USB port for this phone and I'm not sure why. And of course, next to that we have the microphone and the speaker. The phone also supports OTG, and that means that you can plug in any USB stick and the phone can read from that USB stick, and we also have fast charging. However, it still takes about 2 hours and 20 minutes to charge this phone from 0 to 100. Most phones with the Helio P25 get pretty good battery life. Well, I can't really say the same about this phone. So inside this phone we have a 3600 mAh battery, and some days you can get 3 hours of screen on time and some days you can get 6 hours of screen on time doing the exact same thing. I imagine this is a software issue and it can probably be fixed in a future software update, but for now the battery life is very unreliable. As for the 5.5-inch screen, well, the screen doesn't look bad, but it could be better. So we can touch the screen in 5 places in the same time and the screen will register. The screen sensitivity is good, but I wish the screen would get a bit brighter because if you're outside it's kind of difficult to see it. The fingerprint scanner also acts as a home button, a return key and a multitasking key. Not my favorite thing in the world, but it is what it is. As for the scanner itself, it's accurate most of the time, however it's not the fastest out there. Like most phones with the Helio P25, we don't get crazy performance, however we get more than enough power for day-to-day usage. The main difference you're gonna notice between this phone and a high-end device is basically when you open apps, because opening apps is not done as fast as a flagship device, so it still takes like a second or so to actually open an app. Once the app is open, we don't really have any issues while using that app, and multitasking also works quite good because we have 6 gigs of RAM available, and that's a lot of RAM. Gaming works decent as well, but you may notice some skipped frames every now and then depending on the game that you're playing, but most games that you're gonna find in the Google Play Store should work okay on the P8. The GPS unit is not the fastest that I've seen. It takes the phone a few seconds to find your location, and depending where you drive, mostly between taller buildings, you may lose your location. For sensors, we have a lot of sensors available, including a gyroscope, and all the sensors that are available there seem to work good as well, so no issues with that. For connectivity, the phone can connect to 4G networks, and we also have dual band Wi-Fi, but like most phones from China, we don't have NFC. The speeds that I got over 4G and the dual band Wi-Fi are decent and appropriate for a phone in this price range. For software, the phone is running Android 7 and the UI is very close to stock Android, and that's definitely a good thing. Moving in between screens, opening apps, closing apps, multitasking, basically everything that you're gonna do with the phone, it's done quite fluently, but that's quite normal for the Helio P25 and Android 7 because they seem to be very well optimized. And it's time to conclude this video. So overall, for a phone that costs about $230, I think it's way too expensive for what it offers. I mean, it sounds good on paper, a 16 megapixel front-facing camera and a 21 megapixel rear camera, but in reality you can get the same results from a lot of other phones. So I wouldn't buy this phone. I would probably get the Xiaomi Mi 5X instead of this because it's only like 20 bucks more expensive and you get much better value, and the pictures actually look much better than the pictures that you take with this one. Alright guys, hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did like it, press that like button, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.